Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you for stopping in. Today, I have some spring/Easter DIYs for you. They're cute, they're easy, and most of all, they're inexpensive. So let's get started. I have one of these thingies that I picked up from the Dollar Tree and I didn't use it for Valentine's. So I took it out to my bandsaw and I cut it in 5-inch lengths. I had another plan for this, but I changed my mind last minute. You know how we crafters do. So when I get to the end, I ended up having a short piece and it came out to about 3 inches, and that's what I used. Then I gave them a coat of white Waverly chalk paint. And oh, by the way, if you don't have a bandsaw, you can cut these with a miter box. You can use a miter saw. You can use whatever you have. You may can even use one of those little saws from the Dollar Tree. I don't know how well that'll do, but I may have to test it. So once they were dry, I took some burlap ribbon that I had and I folded it in half, and then I just cut out the shape of rabbit ears. And then I just cut it on the fold. This way your ears are even and one's not bigger than the other. Then I just did the same thing but with a different ribbon. Put a dab of hot glue right toward the middle, and then I pinched it together. Put a dab of hot glue on the side, folded it over again, and pinched it together again. And I just did the same thing for all 4 ears. Then I just stood the block up and hot glued each ear down. And then I did the same thing with the second block. Then I attached a bow to the top of the block in front of the bunny ears. And I used a different bow as well for each of the bunnies. I tacked down the tails of the bows to keep them in place so they would look nicer. Then I began to construct the face. So I had some buttons and I picked out the size that I thought was proportion wise good. Pink, of course, to go with the bows. And I just glued them down about where I thought the middle of the face should be. I had these little white pom-poms in my stash, and I just hot glued one to each side of the nose. Now for the whiskers, I just cut a piece of black yarn that I had, and it's 4-ply, so I just pulled it apart and used just 3 of the strings. I folded them in half, and then I spread apart the 2 little pom-poms, put a dab of hot glue, and then put the whiskers down inside of it. This little thingamajig from the Dollar Tree comes in handy. It keeps me from burning my fingers. I used a pencil to draw an outline of the eyes because I don't trust myself to just go ahead and put it on there permanently. I just used a Sharpie to fill in the eyes. I could have painted them, but this worked just fine. So here I went with a chalk marker and I was outlining the edges of the eyes, and don't do that. They look like cat eyes. So I did go back and fix them. I used a Sharpie to draw a mouth on each of them. All I did was I drew a straight line and did a curve to the right and a curve to the left. Then I took some ribbon that I picked up from the Dollar Tree and I just hot glued it around the bottom of each one. I think it just gave it that little something extra. Now here's how they turned out. When I saw this vase, I knew I wanted to make it look like an Easter egg. I wanted to create a chevron pattern, so I cut out little squares out of masking tape and just placed them all the way around, and then I just taped off the rest of the vase. I took it outside and sprayed it with Rust-Oleum frosted glass spray. I brought it back in for it to dry because it was cold outside, but it really only took a couple of minutes. Then I just peeled that there tape right back off. I used Americana chalk finish for glass, and the color is vintage. I found the easiest thing to do is just pour the paint inside. Gave it 2 coats, letting it dry in between coats. The look I'm going for here is kind of like ghost flames. It's very subtle. Once it was dry, I attached nautical rope to the bottom using hot glue. And I would just run a bead, lay the rope down, run a bead, lay the rope down until I got all the way to the bottom. This process makes sure that the rope stays secure. I finished it off with another bead of hot glue and pressed it down with my thingamajig. The final touch was to add some ribbon. To make a riser for the vase, I used a square out of a pack that I got from the Dollar Tree. I painted it white with Waverly's chalk paint. Now for the legs of this thing, you can use half beads, and you can find them on Amazon. I made my own using the drill press and a bead tool, so mine are more like 3/4 beads, which was intentional. I mixed some chalk paint and water together to make a whitewash, and I just wanted to whitewash them to soften up the color a little bit. I used hot glue to attach one in all 4 corners. The last thing I did was hot glued matching ribbon all the way around the edge, and this is how it turned out. I took 2 planks from a pack from the Dollar Tree and I angled off each corner. I used Gorilla Glue to attach one to each side of the crate. Once it was dry, I cut a wood dowel to fit across the top and glued it in place. I painted the whole thing white with chalk paint. I didn't have any floral foam, so I cut a pool noodle and put it inside. Then I cut apart baby's breath that I had and stuck them down in there. I measured how long I wanted the label to be, and then I cut a piece out of burlap ribbon. I ironed on the HTV design that I printed out on my Cricut. Then I attached it to the flower caddy using hot glue. I cut popsicle sticks for a border, painted them white, and hot glued them on there. I think this turned out really cute. Till next time, click subscribe, and y'all come back.